And go.
Good afternoon, it's Phil Island here, your tracker from Australia in the Barcelona climate talks. I'm currently with Tim Costello, the CEO of World Vision Australia, in the cafeteria area of the convention centre. Just over there we've got some of the Australian delegation meeting, no doubt talking about their strategies for the afternoon. And all around us are other members from other delegations, other NGOs and other people who are interested in the talks. So, firstly, I'm going to ask Tim a few questions. Tim, what's your perspective on the talks at Barcelona so far? How do you feel they've been going?
Well, I think we do have a glacial slow movement that's going to just result in a dam wall that isn't going to break through to securing for the world an agreement of not more than 2 degrees warming. So I'm feeling pessimistic.
And what about Australia's position? What would you say to Australia's position, both the negotiating team and the politicians back home?
Well, Australia's position now with the West is really on the mat. The African Union, not the African delegation rather, now supported by the G77 and the LDCs, are saying to the West, enough. We came here in good faith, where you promised that the trust to get a deal would include all of us, and we've lost that trust. There's a breach of faith. And really that puts the Australians and the rest on the mat to say we haven't put in mid-term targets 2020 that are going to avoid the 2 degrees warming. And that breach of trust now means it has to be overcome by real political will and political decisions, which isn't simply well, we did something and we got a bit of momentum, so that's a great achievement. Really, they're on the mat, they're in the corner. The Australian delegation has to, along with the West, the US, Europe, step up and say, okay, we're going to have this breach of trust, we're not going to get a deal unless we really are seen to restore that good faith where we've all said, yeah, we're in this to keep it below 2 degrees warm.
So you've mentioned mitigation. I'm wondering if you could just speak to adaptation for a second, because a lot of the development NGOs have been talking about this idea of additionality. I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about your position on that and also your reflections upon the Australian position on that.
Well, people in Australia will know that we fought a successful campaign under Make Poverty History, a campaign that saw the Rudd government promise to increase aid, and it's done so, to 0.5% of GDP, 50 cents in every $100 by 2015. We could lose that money and those gains if additionality for adaptation isn't new money. Additionality essentially means you're not going to raid and pinch existing aid to the poor in order just to finance what they need to do to adapt to climate change. So this is now, from my point of view, a really serious moral issue. How can Australia, the only country really in the OECD that didn't go into recession, a country that has signed up to Kyoto and been applauded at Bali, that has said we are now meeting our expectations, that our promises in ODA, raid the tin of overseas development aid simply because we have a debt and deficit problem. It's the same issue for Europe and for America to really slide under the radar. Yes, we're funding adaptation, but not say clearly where that money's coming from would be an even more significant breach of trust.
I'm just wondering, to close, would you be able to just say some encouraging things to the people listening back home who are trying to encourage our government to take stronger action on climate change?
Yeah, the most important thing is Australians are the most affected of all the developed world by climate change, and curiously, despite the difficult politics of transition from fossil fuel industries really being a giant quarry for China and Japan, we have most to lose if there isn't a deal. So whilst a pro-poor deal is fundamentally important for Africa and low developing countries, it's actually in our self-interest. There's never been a clearer case of humanitarian concerns merging with self-interest for Australians to get an outcome here, not allowing more than 2 degrees warming. So the Australian government, if it really believes in acting in the interests of Australians and by virtue of that in the interests of a global Pro-Port deal, really must step up. Let your voice be heard, write to your politicians, be active. Now's the time to galvanise.
Thanks so much for your time, Tim, and thank you for listening. Follow my blogs on aclimateforchange.org and adoptanegotiator.org. Make comments, take actions on A Climate for Change so that our government listens to us and takes serious action on climate change. Look forward to blogging to you. I'm Phil. Bye.